So one of the narratives on the left that is so prominent it even made it into Kamala Harris's campaign messaging is how Trump is talking about an enemy within. And of course, like literally every other thing Trump says, this comment has been met with bewilderment and therefore has been interpreted in the worst possible way. The deranged bad actors on the left will say things like, he's calling his political opponents the enemy within, or he's calling people that don't vote for him the enemy within. But that's never been the case because Trump's beef has always been with the deep state, the unelected bureaucracy, the swamp. Now, I can admit that Trump doesn't have a way with words really and can be pretty tactless in his comments. This can leave him open to attacks, and he usually has to elaborate later on in a way that he should have done the first time. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes, after enough time, bureaucrats and operatives in the Democrat Party end up proving Trump right because either something leaks or they just go on TV and can't keep their mouths shut. In this video, I'm going to show you two clips. The first clip is Kamala Harris's former communications director. Let's see what he has to say.
Joe Biden's been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
He would absolve her from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
operate. This has now jumped from an internet meme to a Sunday morning show.
Jamal's out here right now in the season of House of Cards.
So let me get this straight. Immediately after the American people democratically and overwhelmingly vote for Kamala Harris not to be president, this unelected asshat that nobody knows is just like, we should make Kamala Harris president anyways. At best, this is just the bitter remnants of a failed campaign looking to troll the American people. At worst, this is a Kamala Harris affiliate calling for yet another coup. Oh god, they can't stop. They've already gotten a taste of coup when they took over the presidential campaign without a primary from Biden. And now they want more. Can we please stop calling these people that continuously work to subvert democracy Democrats? Because they're not. And he'll tell you himself if we listen closely and really break down what he's saying. Some of it doesn't even make sense, but the parts that do are very telling.
Make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve her from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat.
So since Kamala Harris is the current vice president, that means she will certify the electoral votes and Trump's victory. But if she's president and appoints Tim Walz as VP, then theoretically she wouldn't have to. I mean, it kinda trolls, but Trump still ultimately wins because he still becomes president in 2025 either way.
And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency.
Dominate the news? I mean, yeah, it would, but not in the way that this guy thinks. Also, learn drama and transparency? What the fuck does learning drama have to do with making a serious case for why Kamala Harris should be installed as president? What does this even mean? But sure, I guess the shady-ass Democrats do need to learn some transparency, so I'll give them that.
And doing things that the public want to see.
Okay, people like this just don't live in reality. We just had an election where Trump gained voters in almost all demographics and won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. And he is saying that what the public wants to see is Kamala Harris installed as president. It doesn't get much more delusional than that.
Is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats operate.
This is now.
And there it is. Change how Democrats operate. These kind of people don't want to be the Democrats as we know it. They don't want to be a political party as constitutionally intended. They want to be the faction that subverts the American people and our democratic process. They want to be the party of the coup. Weird why it's almost as if they're projecting and desperately want to do whatever they accuse Trump of wanting to do. This next clip is about how leaked information reveals that there is already plotting against Trump happening in secret Pentagon meetings. CNN's only Republican Scott Jennings spells out everything wrong with this as clear as day.
Discussions at the Pentagon. I don't know at what level this is. It just seems like it's informal discussions. I guess it's understandable they would have those discussions. It also, Scott, is it?
Look, I don't like this because what's Donald Trump supposed to think? You know, he's sitting down there. He's the president-elect. And now he's got to read the newspaper tonight that the unelected bureaucracy of the federal government is having meetings at some level about how to thwart or countermand the commander in chief. I don't care if it's at the Pentagon or at the HUD or Ag Department. It doesn't matter. The unelected bureaucracy of this government answers to the civilian and duly elected leadership that we just did. And what if you were in his shoes and you just won the popular vote with a clear mandate, and now you got to read that these unelected bureaucrats are plotting against you? What would you think if
But
they
I
have
think there's a
problems?
reason
If
for
they
that,
let me
though.
finish. If they have problems, they should not have meetings that then leak to the press. If they have ideas or things, they should call the president's office and say, "Hey, we'd like to have some discussions for planning purposes." But secret meetings that leak, terrible way to get off to a start with the new administration.
So maybe people shouldn't cry and get all bent out of shape whenever Trump talks about an enemy within, because there's literally people flirting with coup and treason. They aren't just enemies of Trump. They're enemies of we the people in our democratically elected mandate. And not just because Trump or I say so, but because that's what they say they make themselves out to be.